Hey everyone, and welcome to CSCI 495, Information Systems Capstone Course and Project. My name is Corey Nance, and I'll be your instructor this semester. I'm really excited to be teaching this course because it is the capstone course for information systems, and I like to see how you apply everything that you've been learning so far to the projects that we do here in the course. I wanted to create this video so that I could go over the course syllabus and the schedule and sort of lay out how the rest of the semester is going to go. So let's go ahead and get started. We'll start off by looking at the syllabus here. I'm not going to read everything verbatim. I encourage you to do that. Please make sure that you're familiar with all of the policies and objectives that are laid out here in the syllabus. I'll just try to hit some of the high points. Prereqs for this course is a grade of C or better in 225 and 330. My contact information is available here. Really doesn't matter which way you choose to connect with me. Email is probably the preferred method, followed up by Slack, and then lastly maybe voicemail. If you do call me, feel free to leave a voicemail. That voicemail gets attached to an email and sent to me, so I'll be able to get that even if I'm out of the office. I do want to point out, if you've never used Slack before, Slack is a chat application. I find it lends itself better to discussions than, say, your traditional discussion forum in Moodle. However, we will still be doing discussion forums in Moodle. The Slack component is completely optional. But this is what Slack looks like. So there's a web client and a desktop client. This just happens to be the desktop client, but they look identical. Once you join the CSCI Slack, it'll be one of your squares over here on the side, and there's certain channels, which are essentially chat rooms, that you can join. One of the ones that you can join is CSCI 495 Spring 19, and the way you do that is just by clicking on channels and then either filtering by the search or just scrolling down and finding our class. With this being a completely online class, I think that having the ability to talk in real time and discuss really helps out with that missing component that we would normally get if this was in person. So again, I encourage you to sign up for that, but it's also not a requirement for the course. Office hours, I'm here Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday morning. Tuesday and Thursday is 9:30 to 11:45, and Wednesday is from 9:30 to 1 p.m. Outside of those times, I'm available by appointment and, of course, by email, phone, and Slack. So please feel free to reach out to me. And if we need to set up a time to meet outside of this because these hours don't work for you, just let me know, and I'll try to be as flexible as possible. There is no textbook for this course. And I do want to read over the course description here. This is the senior capstone course, and it's intended to integrate and synthesize the material covered in the field of information systems, including systems analysis, project management, system development and deployment, and security. Students will develop a practical solution to all information systems problem, and presentations will be both oral and written. Lecture topics may vary from semester to semester. So typically whoever's teaching 495 takes a different approach to this. So it's usually not the same course from one semester to another. And this section or this offering of 495 is no different. Our main focus is going to be on rapid development. And we'll see a little bit more about what I mean by that when we look at the project cycle description. So next thing you're probably interested in is grading and how your grade will be computed. We're going to do a series of 6 mini projects throughout this course. Each one's going to take roughly 2 weeks to complete. So that's going to count for 50% of your grade. And then for each project that we do, we're going to have discussions involved with them. So over the course of the 2 weeks, we're going to be doing discussions in Moodle, and that'll count for 35% of your grade. And then lastly, there's some assignments and quizzes here at the beginning of the course that I want to go ahead and knock out and get out of the way. Those will count for 15% of your grade. The grading scale is standard for the university. It's the 10-point scale. If you're in the upper bounds of those ranges, I do award B pluses, C pluses, and D pluses. Feedback, you can expect feedback from me within 5 business days of the due date, and your grade will be returned to Moodle. So essentially your grade will be in the Moodle gradebook. You'll be able to see that all semester throughout the course. I'm going to be primarily giving feedback in the discussion forums. I'm going to be jumping in there and posting with you all. And if there's any personal feedback that I need to give, I'll definitely direct message or email you that feedback. If any dates or times need to change, I'll be sure to let you know. And if I'm out of town or something attending a conference, I'll definitely give you guys a heads up before I leave. Instructional activities is really primarily readings. As of right now, this is the only lecture that I intend to have. If the need arises, I'll definitely add some more. Assessments, these are just those 3 grading categories that we saw. And then due dates, which we'll get a better idea of due dates here when we look at the schedule. But due dates are due by, or assignments are due by 11:55 p.m. the Moodle server time, which is here in the Eastern time zone of the due date. Late assignments are not accepted, so please make sure that you are starting your work early and trying to turn it in early as well, so that you're not writing up until the last minute, and sometimes unfortunate things happen at the last minute. This is a distance learning course, so an absence is defined as a missed online submission deadline, such as a quiz, assignment, or discussion post. It's super important here in this first week that you at least do the introduction discussion and introduce yourself. I'm going to be using that as attendance, and the registrar requires us to report anyone who did not attend during the first week of class as not attending. Subsequently, they end up dropping you from the class if you are reported. So please just make sure that you get in there and you do that. Online code of conduct. This definitely applies to us, and really what it boils down to is just to respect each other. So please read through this. It's just general guidelines for our discussions and Slack chats. Academic integrity. I do expect all work in this class to be completed individually, which means that it's all your own work. If, let's say, in some of the projects you find some code on Stack Overflow or something like that, that's perfectly fine. Just make sure that in your code you leave a comment saying that, hey, I found this snippet of code at this URL. Some way of citing where you got it from. If I do catch anyone cheating or plagiarizing, the penalty for that is a grade of FX in the course, and it's referred to the university's academic integrity officer. There's a whole process that you go through when you have to do that. You can read up a little bit about the process here in the Code of Student Conduct, and this is just an excerpt from there detailing out what is plagiarism and what does examples of it look like. So just to piggyback on that previous example, if you did not cite where you got code from and that code happened to have come from Stack Overflow, then that could be interpreted as an instance of plagiarism. If you have a disability, please get that documented with our Office of Disability Services. They'll give you a form with accommodations that you can bring to me, and at that point I can start making accommodations. Until then, not allowed to make any accommodations. And then lastly here, just some student services. You're probably aware of most of these by now, since I'm assuming this is roughly your last semester here at Coastal. But if you've never taken a distance learning course before, you may be interested in the DL support services. And if you have laptop issues or technical issues, you can call the help desk, the Student Computing Services help desk, or visit their tech support. Either one of these links will take you there. The rest of these are just general services around the university that you may be interested in. Right, so let's take a look at the tentative schedule. I call it tentative, is subject to change. However, I do envision the course going this way, barring any sort of natural disasters or something else that may keep us from being able to stay on schedule. So this first week is where we're at. What I want for you to do this first week is just familiarize yourself with Moodle. Go ahead and understand how the forums work, the layout, documents, review all the course material, make sure you're up to date on that. Create a GitHub account. That's where we're going to be posting all of our projects. And introduce yourself in Moodle under the discussion board. Again, that's really crucial because I'm using that for attendance here in the first week. Week 2, we're going to go into our ACM Code of Ethics. So the Code of Ethics has actually recently updated as of last year. So we're going to be doing a little compare and contrast of the original Code of Ethics from 1992 and how it compares to this new version in 2018. I think I might not have this completely updated here. Yeah, so I do apologize. We're actually going to do that ethical discussion here in the first week. The second week is when we are going to move into learning about how to use Git, how to use GitHub, so that you're familiar with that with your projects. I apologize about that. I just need to make that quick change here. I'll get that formatting done after the video. So week 1, we're actually going to do those ACM Code of Ethics, and then week 2, we'll become familiar with Git, and then week 3, we'll go ahead and start with our first project cycle. You'll notice that this each cycle runs for 2 weeks, and we have 6 in total. And then lastly, we have this collaboration down at the bottom. So these project cycles are where we're going to be implementing our project and then posting them. We'll look at the directions for that here in a second. And then the second week is when we're going to be discussing it amongst our peers here in the class and providing good constructive feedback. And then we'll move into the next week's cycle and pretty much do the same thing over and over again until we've gone through it 6 times. And then lastly, we have collaboration. I haven't fully ironed out the details for what that week's going to look like. What I'm envisioning is, though, that we take a project cycle that was done by one of our classmates and implement a feature for them or expand on a feature that they implemented and then submit a pull request to their GitHub so that we can see how we can collaboratively work on open source projects. All right, important dates down here at the bottom. Last day to add drop for the course, January 19th. No in-person classes on the 21st. Spring break is March 11th through the 16th. You'll notice that I don't have anything assigned then, so you don't have to worry about working over spring break here in this class. March 27th is the last day to drop with a W for the regular spring semester. April 19th is a student holiday, and May 1st is the last day of our regular spring semester. So really the meat and potatoes of this course is going to be the project cycles. The first couple weeks are just knocking out some checkboxes like the ACM stuff and making sure that you're proficient with Git and GitHub, and then we move right into project cycles. So what is a project cycle? Well, we're going to be completing 6 of them. You're free to choose any project that you would like to work on. If you need help coming up with an idea, I do have a link back over here for project ideas and public APIs. So, like I said, you're free to choose anything you want. If not, take an idea off the idea sheet and just run with it. Each cycle is broken into 2 weeks. By Sunday of the first week, your project is due to be posted in the discussion forum. During that second week, you'll respond to your classmates with constructive feedback and suggestions, while also responding to posts on your own project's thread. So you'll have to tend to your thread while you're also replying to every other student's in the class's thread, looking over their project, and just seeing if there's any good feedback that you can provide them with. You'll receive 2 grades for each cycle. 1 grade is for your project and the initial post. The other grade is going to be your discussion participation during the second week of the cycle. So what do these projects look like? What I'm looking for out of here is about 8 hours of development time. Now, this is definitely going to vary. I encourage you to sort of step out of the box a little, or out of your comfort zone, if you will. Maybe explore some new languages, explore some new projects that you wouldn't normally feel comfortable with. I find that it's a great way to actually learn is to see how other people do something as they're learning a new language, and that all kind of comes out in that initial post and subsequent video that's going to be required for that post, showing how you went through a project and how you got from beginning to end. Each project will reside in a Git repository on GitHub, so that's why we're creating GitHub accounts. And you'll need a readme.md, which is a markdown file that contains at least these 4 headings. So a description or a purpose, dependencies that are required for your project, usage, so how do you use your project, and then future work. What can you do to expand on this project? All code that you write should be well documented using industry standards. So if you're writing, say, in Java, make sure you're using java.comments. And same thing for Python, use PyDoc. And if you're writing in C, use whatever the standard is in C. If you can't find a standard, reach out to me, or basically just reach out to me, and I'll help you look it up and see exactly how people are standardly documenting code in that particular language. Additionally, for your project, you'll need a short 10-minute or less video that explains your project. Basically, it needs to walk us through that README, walk us through the code, and then do a demonstration of the project itself. And then lastly, you'll create that discussion post in Moodle where you'll post a link to this GitHub and the YouTube video. So I do have a couple of examples here. I took a course in graduate school that implemented project cycles similar to this, and I found it to be hugely beneficial and thought it would be appropriate for a 400 level capstone course as well. I've listed 2 examples that I've done in the past and the YouTube videos that go with them, so you can use this to come and take a look. Let's see. Copy, paste. So you can kind of see what that readme.markdown is going to look like. And if you're not familiar with Markdown, don't worry about that. I actually have a link here, somewhere in here, Markdown tutorial. It's really, really easy to work with. And that's the markup that we use for README files in GitHub and a few other places. All right, so like I said, I had this project ideas and public APIs. It's really just a collection of links. If you find some more links that you think would be beneficial to other students, please let me know. I'd be happy to add them up here. And let me show you what our modules look like. So I have our modules broken down into weeks. Let me actually back up one here. So we're in week 1 right now. Then we're going to move into week 2, and you can see that the cycles are all 2 weeks. So you can kind of keep track of where you're at in the course based on the date or the week that we're in. Here in this first week, I just want for you to do that ethics discussion and also do that course introduction. I'm going to use these 2 for attendance verification. So again, that's very important. Week 2, we're going to get into a little crash course on GitHub. So depending on where you're at, if you've used Git before, if you're familiar with GitHub, this week may not be too strenuous on you. It could just be a good refresher. But you'll have to go through and do a Git proficiency and make sure that you have a GitHub account created. Week 3 and 4 is our first cycle. So we can see the discussion here. This is where you'll jump in, you'll add a new one for your project, and then everybody will comment based upon that. All right. So that really covers everything that I wanted to go over here in this introductory video. If you have any questions, please let me know. If not, I'll talk to you guys in the discussion threads. Thank you.